An I-Team investigation reveals the man who kidnapped Steve Wynn's daughter has been returned to Las Vegas after more than 20 years in prison.
We were both here. It was a crime that sent shockwaves through the city. The I-Team's Glenn Meek covered the case 2 decades ago. He joins us now to tell us what brought back Ray Cuddy to our community.
Well, as you mentioned, Cuddy paid a high price for his crime and spent the last 21 years in prison. He is not scheduled to finish his sentence until next month, but court records obtained by the I-Team suggest that Cuddy may already be back in town and serving out the remaining time at a halfway house.
She said, "Hello, Dad. Listen carefully."
"It's Kevin. I've been kidnapped."
I said, "What?"
Gripping testimony from casino magnate Steve Wynn and his daughter Kevin in the 1994 trial of Ray Cuddy. Cuddy went to prison for masterminding the plot to kidnap Kevin Wynn, who was abducted from her Spanish Trail home by Cuddy and 2 accomplices. After getting the ransom call, Steve Wynn gathered more than $1 million in cash from the cage at the Mirage. He put it in a bag as the kidnappers requested and had a driver drop it off at the parking lot of Sunny Saloon, then on Spring Mountain Road, not far from the Mirage.
He said, "We just want the casino's money." And at that point, I thought my life was over.
I remember that my kneecap was shaking, and I couldn't make it stop, and my breathing was short. And as I was walking in front of the cage, I kept saying, "Breathe deeply, get control of yourself." And all I could think of was Kevin.
Mr. Cuddy, think you got a fair trial?
Now, more than 20 years later, Cuddy's prison time is almost over, and court documents obtained by the I-Team suggest Cuddy has already been brought back to Las Vegas to finish his sentence at a halfway house. This motion from a probation officer seeks a no-contact order to keep Cuddy away from the Wynn family. Such an order is justified, the motion says, in light of the egregious conduct and the fact that the offender has returned to the community where the victim's family resides.
I absolutely don't think he poses any danger.
Mitchell Posen was Cuddy's lawyer at trial. He doesn't think Cuddy is coming back to Las Vegas with intentions of harming anybody. Posen believes Cuddy's placement is a function of Prison Bureau procedure and the fact that Cuddy may have no other place to go.
It's been a lot of years, and I don't remember all of his family connections. But I remember he was pretty much on his own back then, so I suspect it's even more so now.
He never expressed remorse. He was given an upward departure at sentencing for committing perjury at his suppression hearing.
Tom O'Connell was one of 2 government lawyers who prosecuted Cuddy. Does he think Cuddy poses a danger after all these years?
I would never trust Ray Cuddy. I mean, anything's possible with him. Who knows?
Cuddy is now 69 years old. Documents filed by the probation department indicate he is without financial resources. But in the days following his crime, Cuddy had more than $1 million ransom money and spent it lavishly, as O'Connell's co-counsel noted for the jury.
He went on a spending spree and bought all kinds of high-end clothing with the proceeds of the kidnapping, which Jay described in his closing statement as just obscene.
Cuddy tried to buy a Ferrari with cash in Newport Beach, California. And though Cuddy was arrested at the dealership, it was not because a salesperson dropped a dime on the feds. FBI agents had already identified Cuddy as a suspect by analyzing records from payphones near Kevin Wynn's house, which had been used by a lookout in the crime.
So by the time he got to the Ferrari dealership, they were waiting for him there.
Not only were they on to him, they were surveilling him, staying in the same hotel and working out feet away from him in the hotel gym.
After being caught in California, Cuddy fought unsuccessfully to keep the case there. Now, ironically, Cuddy has been brought back to Las Vegas again. And if he's at the halfway house on Industrial Road, he can probably see the hotel that bears his victim's name. Now, I reached out for comment from the Wynn family through Wynn Resorts and was told by a spokesperson that Mr. Wynn did not have a comment for our story. I also sent a request to Mr. Cuddy for an interview through the prison system, and he declined. And coming up tonight at 6, I'll have more on why Cuddy is being returned to the District of Nevada for his release and why he'll still be under the supervision of Las Vegas probation officers even after his release.
A night we'll never forget.
Oh, no, it goes back.
It was a big deal, yeah. All right, thanks a lot, Glenn. Well, the brains behind one of the most notorious crimes in Las Vegas history is set to be released next month back here in Las Vegas.
Ray Cuddy just spent more than 2 decades in prison for kidnapping the daughter of casino mogul Steve Wynn in 1993.
The I-Team's Glenn Meek joins us now to tell us why Cuddy is returning here where the crime occurred.
Well, the Bureau of Prisons tells me that it's pretty much standard procedure to release an offender in the district where they were convicted unless that offender has strong family ties elsewhere and the move is approved in advance. And though prison officials say they can't confirm it, court records obtained by the I-Team suggest Cuddy has already been moved to a halfway house right here in Las Vegas to serve out the final weeks of his sentence.
She said, "Hello, Dad. Listen carefully."
It's Kevin. I've been kidnapped.
I said, "What?"
Gripping testimony from casino magnate Steve Wynn and his daughter Kevin in the 1994 trial of Ray Cuddy. Cuddy went to prison for masterminding the plot to kidnap Kevin Wynn, who was abducted from her Spanish Trail home by Cuddy and two accomplices. After getting the ransom call, Steve Wynn gathered more than $1 million in cash from the cage at the Mirage. He put it in a bag as the kidnappers requested and had a driver drop it off at the parking lot of Sunny Saloon, then on Spring Mountain Road, not far from the Mirage.
Mr. Cuddy, think you got a fair trial?
Now, more than 20 years later, Cuddy's prison time is almost over, and court documents obtained by the I-Team suggest Cuddy has already been brought back to Las Vegas to finish his sentence at a halfway house. This motion from a probation officer seeks a no-contact order to keep Cuddy away from the Wynn family. Such an order is justified, the motion says, in light of the egregious conduct and the fact that the offender has returned to the community where the victim's family resides.
I absolutely don't think he poses any danger.
Mitchell Posen was Cuddy's lawyer at trial. He doesn't think Cuddy is coming back to Las Vegas with intentions of harming anybody.
The system, they're primarily concerned with their own security. So where they put him and when they put him somewhere, I think is purely designed for their convenience, not for his or anyone else's.
He never expressed remorse. He was given an upward departure at sentencing for committing perjury at his suppression hearing.
Tom O'Connell was one of two government lawyers who prosecuted Cuddy. Does he think Cuddy poses a danger after all these years?
I would never trust Ray Cuddy. I mean, anything's possible with him. Who knows?
After being caught in California, Cuddy fought unsuccessfully to keep the case there. Now, ironically, Cuddy has been brought back to Las Vegas again. And we reached out through Wynn Resorts to get a comment on behalf of the family, but we're told by a spokesperson that Mr. Wynn would not be commenting on this story. Ray Cuddy, we should say, had two accomplices as well, and they were from the Sacramento area, and I discovered that Paul Johnsich had worked there at that time and covered this case from there while I was covering it here.
Right, and I remember thinking, who would try to kidnap the daughter of a casino boss, right? The general feeling was that these kidnappers probably had to be pretty sophisticated to pull this off, but we were surprised to find out that they were in way over their heads. Authorities traced Cuddy's accomplices, Jacob Sherwood and Anthony Watkins, to an address in a blighted Sacramento neighborhood. While the two suspects had already fled to the St. Louis area and would eventually be arrested there, police believed they'd spent some of that ransom money around Sacramento. So detectives were questioning friends and looking for a woman who disappeared with them.
Mary, if you're listening or watching or anything, just do the right thing. You know right from wrong. Do the right thing and think of the kids, and hopefully everything will be all right. And I love you, and I hope I see you soon.
So after serving 19 years in federal prison, Jacob Sherwood was released in 2010. He moved to Indiana. And Anthony Watkins, who, as you know, was a lookout during the kidnapping, got a lighter sentence, just 6 years. He was released from federal prison in 2000. He hung around Sacramento for a while and then later moved to another area and was rearrested for drugs. And Glenn, this was an odd trio.
It was, you talk about an odd couple. This was an odd trio. You got Cuddy, a former club manager and one-time circus performer who traveled between Newport Beach and Las Vegas. And then you had these two cousins from Sacramento, and they met when Cuddy worked at a gas station for a while in Northern California with one of them. And then there was this odd mix, and somehow they all got mixed up in a very, very serious crime that had a big impact here in Las Vegas. Paula?
Gentlemen, police call it an internet prank that went too far.